I'm Cayman Jason. This is the way I see it. Hey guys, welcome to Cayman's North Wall. It's a cloudy Saturday morning out here on the Anna Capri. I'm diving with my friends from Ambassador Divers. Going to be rolling into a dive site here in a moment called Princess Penny's Pinnacle. And this is a vertical wall site with a little pinnacle that runs right up beside it. It's a really beautiful site. Now on today's dive, we don't really have an objective as to what it is we're trying to capture. We're just going to swim around and see what we can see, and that's the beauty of underwater photography. You know, you prepare for, the site, you prepare for what you think is going to happen on the site, but you never know really what's going to happen. So I've got my my standard go-to rig. It's my Canon 5D Mark IV with my 8mm 15mm L series fisheye. I'm going to have Paul running the Panasonic GH5 as a chase camera. Going to be diving on my Cuda scooter, and we're just going to buzz the site and see what we can see. So when you're ready, let's go do it. So here we are on the top of the shallow part of Princess Penny's Pinnacle, and in the beginning of each dive, typically what's going through my mind is get the camera set in the baseline settings and be prepared, because you never know when something's going to swim by. So the process I'm going through right now is setting the power on my strobes, setting my f-stop, setting my ISO, setting my shutter speed, getting everything in what I call my baseline settings so I can make adjustments from there. Now here's a technique that I like to use quite a bit. So you can see I'm about 4 feet from the sand there, and what I did was I fired my strobes at the white sand. Now I'm going to tell my camera that that's white in that custom white balance setting. So if something swims by me, I can shoot it and know that I'm going to get the right color with a blue background without having that overly blue flash mode setting look. I'm not a huge fan of that look, so I like to color balance my strobes to my camera. Now, if you've got bad buoyancy or you're new to underwater photography, that flash mode is going to be a friend of yours, because if you balance those strobes to the sand at 4 feet, then the color balance is right at 4 feet. But if you move closer to your subject, your image is going to be overly warm. If you move farther than 4 feet away from your subject is going to be overly cool. So that's just something you have to take into consideration. If you want those natural blue background tones, you're going to have to custom balance your camera. So I've left Paul behind, and this is the first shot that we're coming up on here. And this word perspective, I know you're going to hear me use it a lot, but I like to give the viewer this unique perspective of just how small we are in our underwater world, and that's what I've tried to achieve in this shot. The only real thing I think I would have done differently here is I would have had Paul horizontal in the water instead of vertical, and I think that would have been a better image. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased with it. He's right dead center of the image, right on the edge of the vertical pinnacle, and I turned it into black and white just because I wasn't in love with the color. So moving back toward the pinnacle now, I've got Paul's basically in the same place. He's moved over a little bit closer to the edge of the wall, and I'm underneath him getting ready to swim between the wall and the pinnacle. And as I'm looking up, this is really sort of my style of photography here. I've got my strobes off. I'm just capturing these natural tones, this natural blue water, basically the way my eye sees it in the water. And he's just directly above me between the pinnacle and the edge of the reef, and the sun's just creeping in over the top of the edge of the reef. And I really love this composition. I love his positioning in the water, and if you're familiar with my work, you'll see this type of photography all throughout it. This is really, when you're underwater, this is what your eye sees. This is exactly what it looks like. There's no artificial lights in this. This is, if you were to look up from that position on that day, that's exactly what it looked like. And again, I've got my strobes turned off, getting ready for this ambient light shot. And I've got him dead center in that crevice there. And this is my style of photography. It's ambient light. It's a nice vertical with Paul directly in dead center in the image, with these light rays and light glowing in through the surface of the top of the pinnacle. And for me, this is, again, going back to the way I see it. This is what your eye sees underwater. Now, mind you, this image has been desaturated just a little bit. I pulled a little bit of the saturation out of the blue just because I like the effect. And I'm overall really pleased with this image. So I did try a few strobe shots here as well, but I was sort of underwhelmed with the outcome. So this next shot is another ambient light shot, and what I did was I just sort of positioned Paul over right dead center between the reef and the pinnacle, and I've got the sun sitting right atop his head. And I really like the effect of that really super bright, almost blown out spot right in the middle of the image, at the top of the image, as it spills over into that crack. I love that natural light. Again, it goes back to the way you see the image underwater. This is what it looks like, folks. It's not I can light up the inside of that with my strobes and show you the underneath side of this ledge, but really when I'm down there, that's not what it looks like. This is what it looks like, and this is, I think, why my eye is drawn to these types of images. So now we're back outside on the top of Princess Penny's pinnacle, and this pinnacle is absolutely gorgeous, covered in all sorts of soft, ornate gorgonians and sponges, and it's really picturesque. Now, again, I don't do a lot of it, but what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to throw my camera into flash mode and show you guys this dark blue background. So it's going to be a really colorful image. And what I'm doing there is I'm using Paul as a subject matter as well. So I've got him situated. He's capturing me with the video camera there. I am telling him to come up a little bit, because what I need to do is separate him from the background. So I want to make sure that he's in blue water above the pinnacle. If the pinnacle's between he and I'm missing part of his fins, it's going to mess up the image. So I've kind of moved him up a little bit. You can see my first stage just got a little bit of an O-ring leak. That's just part of diving. So here's my image, and you can see a lot of color, but you can also see a very dark blue water. And this is the type of scuba magazine photo that we've all become accustomed to over the years. And it's not to say that it's wrong. Underwater photography in general is very subjective. And if this is the type of photography you like, then great. It's whatever you're into. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think it's a beautiful image. I love to see the color in the reef. The big drawback for me is, while I'm underwater, unless I'm shining a light on that reef, that's not what it looks like to my eye. Having said that, it's nice to get it in the image. The composition of the image is okay. I've got Paul at the very tip top of the lens, and because it's a fisheye lens, he's squished down a little bit. I could have tried to fix that a little bit in post, but it's no big deal. I just wanted to show you guys the flash photography side of it with the dark blue background.